cops in Missouri are now using handcuffs that have an 80,000 volt stun ability. So basically what they would do is they would use these handcuffs to stun the people that they're detaining because they're not behaving appropriately. Now keep in mind, they're already handcuffed and you are a cop. You should be trained enough to not have to stun a person that's already handcuffed. But that's just my take on it. I could be wrong.
So first of all, a normal taser is 50,000 volts. This is 80,000 volts.
This is 80,000 volts. And I should note that the police department in Missouri, and this is the Buchanan County Police Department, alleges that this is not really a big deal. In fact, let me give you the graphic from Captain Jody Hovey. He says that it affects the muscles of the body and it doesn't really affect anything else. Everyone says it affects your heart, and it does not. What it does really is it just sends a charge through the body that locks up your muscles. Okay, now keep in mind, as Cenk mentioned, he clarified, it's 80,000 volts. Tasers are 50,000 volts. How many people have died from tasers? Let's take a look. 500 people died in the U.S. after being shocked by tasers between 2001 and 2012. Tasers typically deploy a charge of 50,000 volts.
So they say, well, some people say that it affects your heart. That's because it does, and different people are in different places in the spectrum of how much that would affect them. Mm-hmm. And some people die. Apparently, in about 11 years, 500 of them died. So these tasers are not toys. They're not to be played with, and they're not to be used willy-nilly. It's not like Star Trek, set your phasers on stun, and then the guy's going to get up in a minute, right? Sometimes they don't get up. Now, when you increase the voltage from 50 to 80,000, less people will get up. More people will die. But to me, the most outrageous part of this is they're already in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. You've already detained them. So to me, I get it, right? Could a guy who's already in handcuffs, especially as you're transferring them from one prison to another, and that's one of the scenarios they lay out, could they still shake around a little bit and cause you a little bit of trouble? Yeah, they can. Whoop-de-doo. You don't send 80,000 volts of electricity through them just to prove a point, like, hey, you better not do that. You've got them under control. So no, this is torture. That's what it is.
I think the reality is, and don't get me wrong, I know the majority of cops are not excited or happy about using non-lethal weapons, but there are a certain number of cops out there that get pleasure and enjoyment in using their nonviolent weapons. I mean, we've done numerous stories about cops that have used tasers on children. You don't know how to handle a child? You shouldn't be a cop. You obviously didn't get the appropriate training. So it's more about playing with their toys and being able to utilize their power in some sense than anything else. You know, it's not really trying to control someone. If they're in handcuffs, you've already controlled them. They might be difficult. They might be, I don't know, spitting at you or something. Throw them in the back of the cop car. Take them away to jail.
Yeah, this is punitive. It's not to actually maintain order. There's plenty of ways to maintain order with someone who's already in handcuffs. This is basically the cops saying, you just live in a whole different country now. In the kind of country that even if we have you in handcuffs, and in this case it's literal, you can't argue with it, we're going to shock you anyway. If you dare defy us, and how do you think they're going to use this? You think they're only going to use it when they've got a mad guy out of control to the point where they think maybe he'll get out of the handcuffs? No. They're going to use it that if you even look at a cop the wrong way after you've been detained, stun his ass, show him a lesson, show him who's in charge.
Exactly.
It's sick.